Welcome to the Rooted in Health and Wellness podcast with your host, Heather Harris. It has been a minute. It has definitely been a little while since I have recorded a podcast or a YouTube video. And I want to say thank you so much to those of you that have reached out to me. I was kind of shocked that anybody reached out to me and said, was asking like, where have I been? Why haven't recorded? Or am I okay? And thank you so much for your concern and just even asking. That meant a lot to me because this is a small community. I would love to see it build, but it is a small community so far. And just the fact that anybody was listening and waiting for the next ones, that just made me really feel great. But it has been a minute. I have had to step back for a little bit and take a break. And well, something had to give. Just the last couple of months have been um, just challenging, definitely. You know how, like, maybe some of you have experienced this before, where it's like one thing hits and then another, like all comes at the same time or all hits at the same time. And that definitely has happened to me in the last couple of months. I think in the last podcast that I did, which again I can't remember, but it was a while ago, um, it was all about sleep. So I do encourage you to go back and listen to that because I am going to talk about something that I mentioned at the end of that podcast that can be helpful for sleep. And that's kind of a controversial topic, and I kind of left you guys hanging, so I'm sorry about that. But we are going to get to that in just a minute. But in that one, I talked about the 3-2-1 formula for sleep. So I do encourage you, if you're having any trouble with sleep, or if you know of anybody that's struggling with sleep, please share that episode with them, or share the podcast or the YouTube channel with them. I would so appreciate it. I would love to grow this community. I do plan on doing more podcast and videos. I just had to take a step back. In the last couple of months, I well, in the last podcast, I think I talked a little bit. I was all of a sudden kind of experiencing this overall kind of chronic pain that made me have to take a time out from exercise for a while and give my body more rest. And that's what I did. And I'm actually doing much, much better. I'm back to exercise. I have been now for a few weeks. But it really made me just stop and really think about things that I'm doing, and stress especially is a big one for me. And I think part of why everything kind of hit my body at that moment was um, there was just a lot going on. There was some things that were happening at my workplace, and my dog was not doing well. My dog, who I adopted from the Humane Society 14 years ago, was not doing well. And I was fixing all his food and feeding him, and we were having to carry him around a lot of times because he was struggling to get up anymore. His back hips were definitely, bothering him, hurting him. He was having a hard time getting up and down. He was having this horrible kind of hoarse cough that was, we think, like acid reflux. And I knew, he's 14 years old. He was an Austrian cattle dog and black lab mix. And I knew, that it was getting to the end of his life. But that's hard, if any of you that have pets and I'm sure have understand that they are so a part of the family. I just think about like him. His name was Chunky. He was not chunky at all, but that was his name when we adopted him, and we just kept it. Um, but he was the sweetest. I mean, just, dogs are so loyal, just, waiting for you every day. And when you come home and, just he was such a smart dog, um, and just the sweetest dog. And so it was really, really difficult this last couple months because he was very touch and go for a while. And it's hard to come to that decision that, it's time. Especially, for my kids, this was their first loss in their life. And, it's definitely a life lesson for them. But my oldest, who is 14 as well, has grown up with Chunky, and he took it really, really hard, and he fought to, for us to keep him alive for as long as possible. But the day came when, he couldn't get up anymore. He was going to the bathroom in the house, and his cough was really bad. He was having trouble breathing. He was, foaming at the mouth, kind of thing, and all kinds of gunk coming out of his eyes. And we knew, like, it's time, but it's never easy. And I've struggled, I just, the loss of a human or an animal. I've lost both. I lost my dad 23 years ago to cancer, and I've lost my grandparents, and I have. It's never easy. It's, even though it's a dog, but it's never easy for me, at least, because it's like I feel like a part of me is almost gone. And so, and right around that same time, my mom, who is 84, and she is, got a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which is hereditary. Her dad had it. She has it. They're watching me for it, but knock on wood. So far, don't show any signs of it, but she is going blind. She's almost completely blind at this point. She was diagnosed 23 years ago, around the same time my dad passed away, actually. And so I have pretty much for the past 23 years taken care of her in some shape or form. She's lived with me for many years. Before that, even I was driving her because she couldn't drive anymore. Retinitis pigmentosa, if I didn't say already, is where you lose your peripheral vision and it slowly closes in like a tunnel. And so she has a very small, visual field right now. And even that, she said, is now cloudy. So it's a lot, but this just a few weeks ago, she was trying to get out of bed and to turn on her light next to her bed, and she doesn't really know what happened, but she fell and she landed on her right arm, and she fractured two bones in that right arm, and it's bad. And she, you know, she's such a trooper. I mean, she's so amazing, and she's been through so much. But I talked about this actually in a few episodes ago when we were talking about exercise and lifting weights and building muscle to combat frailty. And I just thought about it all with her because my mom has become frail. It's hard for her. She was never one that was huge into exercise like myself, but she would try to do some. But, you know, being 84 and then losing her eyesight, it was just, things were more difficult. And she wasn't lifting weights and everything, and she's become frail, and unfortunately. And you hear about, like, someone breaks a hip especially, and within like a year they're gone. And I've definitely, even though it's an arm, I have seen such a decline in her, um, since this has happened. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and it's scary. And it's been really, really sad, and has made me, again, I think between her and Chunky, like, it's just really made me step back. And again, it unfortunately, sometimes it takes things like this, and then you step back and you're like, wow, what is most important? What is, most important in my life? And for me, especially the last few months, it's been spending time though with those that I love. And that's always important. I've really made it a priority in my life, especially the last few years, to really be present with my kids. I've mentioned before, my oldest is 14, my youngest is 9, but I've really noticed my 14-year-old, especially the last like 2 years, he is becoming more independent, which is natural and it's good and everything, but he wants to do things more with his friends, and he's gone a lot more and just busy. And I realize as a mom, and people would say this, but all of a sudden, like, I long for him to just say mom. I used to get tired of the mom, 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 and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to hear him say mom. And I don't know, I've just been emotional lately. I think I posted on Facebook one day, watching them go off to school and watching my oldest son, ride his bike off to school. And like, it's just like, I don't know, it's literally like a piece of me is leaving, and watching my youngest go off to school and wave to me as he goes off, and I'm thinking, what a big boy, and it's just crazy. And so I've made it a priority, like I said, the last few years to really, when I'm with my kids, to be present with them, and not to get distracted. And it's easy to get distracted by so many other things, cleaning, yard work, social media, all those things. But I'm trying. I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm really trying to be more present with them and just have conversations with them. And this whole thing, with, again, my dog and my mom, has just all brought it again to the forefront. Like, I am someone, and maybe you can relate, but I'm someone that so wants to do it all. I suffer from that. I suffer because I think it is a struggle, because I think in this day and age, um, both men and women, but I do think there's a little more pressure on women. You may disagree with me, but I feel like we have to be it all and do it all. I love working. I love my kids. I love school and learning and taking more certifications. And, I love volunteering. And I remember a time in my life a few years ago when, I was trying to do it all. And I was struggling. I was struggling, and mainly because I felt overwhelmed and stressed, and it was starting to take a toll on me physically and mentally. And I remember, and something that stuck with me ever since, but when I was going to counseling at the time, I would say to her, like, man, I see these women that are like, they're working and they're going to school too, and they've got kids and they're taking care of their family and they're volunteering, and they're still in great shape, and they always look put together and fit, and like, I don't understand. Like, I can't do it all like that. I just don't feel like I can, keep myself together and do it all. And something she said that really has stuck in my head ever since is that when I start to feel that way and get that comparisonitis, kind of thing, where I'm comparing myself, especially on social media, to other people who seem like they've got it all together, she said to me, Heather, they may be doing it all, but they're not doing it all well. And that really speaks to me, and just let it sink in. I think we can feel like, oh, I can do it all. And maybe, and again, maybe you disagree with me, and you can absolutely disagree with me. You absolutely have a right to your own opinion. But I do think that, we think we can do it all, and maybe we are doing it all, but are we doing it all well? Something to me has to give. There is so many hours in the day. How can we how can we do all of those things and do them all well? She said, Heather, probably some of those women, some of those people, maybe their kids, maybe they're in the room with their kids, but their kids are on their TV or their iPods or, iPhones, or, you know, um, usually something has to give. And I have really took that to heart, and really have tried to, because I struggle, like I said, with wanting to do it all, but knowing that when I do try to do that, it's something does have to give. And it's usually my family, because you think, well, you've got to work, so that, I can't do less on that, but, I'm also trying to do this and do that. And, like I said, something usually has to take the backseat. And a lot of times it's our loved ones, because we think, well, they're always going to be there no matter what. I mean, they're my kids. They're not going anywhere, I'm always going to be their mom. But I guess it's the kind of quality of mom that I want to be to them. And I had another woman tell me a while back, she was saying how one of her biggest regrets is that she worked so much as her kids were growing up, that she missed out on so much. And I've always thought about that too. I don't want to look back and think, I was working so much, or I was trying to do all these things, and missing out on the little moments that I have with my kids. So yeah, um, I'm saying all this because this break was this podcast, this YouTube channel, I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it. I want to provide sound information to everybody, but it is free. I'm doing it all for free, and that's fine. I'm not complaining about it, but it was the thing that I had to take a break from, because believe it or not, doing all this, you don't see, the setup that I've got, all the equipment, taking the time to set it up. And then what's even more time consuming is editing everything, editing out any things that I need to edit out, any breaks or sound, sound problems or anything like that that I need to do. I don't do a whole lot of editing because I'm not that great at it, but it still takes time putting in the music for the podcast and doing all those kind of things. It actually takes me quite a bit of time. So that was something that I just was like, I don't have the time, but I really didn't even have the energy to put into it because there was, so much going on. And I don't like to miss things. I don't like to not, do things that I say I'm going to do. And I really want to stick to this, and I want to build up this community. I want to get the word out more. I think in this day and age, there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of things that our society is promoting that are not healthcare. Not healthcare. I want to empower people to take care of themselves and have the tools to do that. And so it is important to me. I'm very, very passionate about what I do, and so I want to continue to do this. And like I said, I would love to see it grow, this community. But it was just a time when I knew that, again, I can't do it all well. And this was something that had to give. And I had to take that time to focus on taking care of my dog and taking care of my mom and, always my kids then too. Um, and myself, that's the other thing, is that I think we tend to put ourselves always on the back burners as moms, especially, and like, well, I got to take care of everybody else. But I really, during this time too, because I was feeling a lot of the stress in my body physically as well. Um, and I was just having injury after injury when I was working out, and I just felt so achy all the time and sore, and just this, kind of chronic pain. And so I really took the time to rest more, to get more sleep, to really dial in my diet, to do all those kind of things so that I could feel better, so that again I am better able to take care of other people. And I'm doing really good now. I'm really happy with the way things are going. And I've also, it's funny, everything that I've done in my life, or everything that's happened to me, if you listen to my first like 3 podcasts, I talk kind of about my story, and I've been through a lot, but everything that has happened to me has happened for a reason. It's led me to doing the things that I'm doing. It's led me to go back to school for different things and want to learn more. My gut health issues led me to become a functional medicine practitioner and really get to the root cause of my gut health issues. And hormones, I've learned so much about that, and I've learned so much about the thyroid now. And so there's like I said, everything that I have had happen to me, I believe, even though it kind of sucked when I was going through it, it happened for a reason, because it really spurred me to learn more about it and want to either go back to school for it or get a certification. And even today, all these things that have happened to me has led me to a training that I am going to talk about, not today, but in other podcasts when I go through the training, because I am getting certified in it, because it has been, I don't want to be dramatic. And life changing sounds so dramatic when I feel like people say that, but it is definitely re, um, what do I want to say? It's totally changed the way I guess I look at chronic pain and the nervous system. Um, and so I will be talking more about it. Like I said, I'm not going to go into it today, but I've been actually going to a practitioner who's in Lima, Ohio. So for anybody that's watching that isn't familiar, I'm in the Toledo, Ohio area. and Lima is about an hour and a half away. And so that was the closest practitioner in this. And I've traveled there to work with him, and I have been just blown away how much it's helped me regulate my nervous system and get out of chronic pain. And so I will be talking more about it because I think it's going to be so beneficial for so many people. I wanted to go and work with him, and then it spurred me to want to get trained in it. And I will be the only one in the Toledo area then. He's the closest, like I said, an hour and a half away. So I'll be the only one in Toledo area, which is exciting for me to have something different. I feel like sometimes there's so many people doing nutrition and exercise and, with whatever kind of training they have, coaching or schooling. There's just so many people trying to do this thing, doing the space, and that's fine. But I want to be able to somehow, especially with having a podcast and a YouTube channel, I want to stand out. I want to have something different. I am a dietitian, and so I can definitely work with anything with diet, and with any kind of disease. I'm a trainer, so I can work with exercise. This certification will be expanding on exercise and stuff, but how to, like I said, regulate your nervous system. It looks at the way you chew and bite and your vision, and it looks at everything in your posture. It's super interesting and amazing. And then I'm a functional medicine practitioner, so I look at the root cause of a lot of people's health issues. And so this will really tie in nicely because I have a lot of people that have chronic injuries or are in chronic pain, and so we'll be able to help with that. And then lastly, my last piece is I'm really, trying to get my master's in counseling because I think that psychological piece, that emotional piece, that mindset piece is super important as well. And I've talked a lot about mindset and stuff in previous podcasts as well. So, anyway, I have talked a lot here, and so I hope you are still with me. But just giving you a little bit of update of where I've been and what's going on, and kind of just trying to get myself back on track here. And like I said, in the last podcast, we talked about the 3-2-1 formula for sleep. And so if you did not hear that, I would really highly suggest you go back and listen to that one. Um, and and if you're having any sleep problems, that will be a really good one for you. And this podcast, and like I said, I kind of mentioned it at the end of the last podcast, but I was going to talk about mouth taping. Sounds very odd, and it's, when I first heard about it. So let me just preface this. I've been mouth taping for probably 3 years now. So I'm I'm a believer in it, and I very rarely go a night without mouth taping to help with my sleep. I learned about it probably, I mean, even over 3 years ago. I had heard about it, and at the time, I thought that sounds weird. Like, I can't imagine wearing tape over my mouth at night as I sleep. That sounds very claustrophobic, and crazy. But I don't know. As I again was getting older and having a little bit more problems with my sleep and trying to do things more naturally, I decided one day to try it. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, I want to do a disclaimer that I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to try to cure, prevent, diagnose anything for you. I'm just here to educate and put things out there. And this is probably a controversial topic because, again, it sounds odd. But if you look it up, actually, you'll see more health and fitness people, talking about it because it does have a lot of benefits. But if you have any kind of airway, nasal obstructions, any problems, breathing through your nose, or kind of maybe even allergies, or any kind of respiratory disorders. Certain people, like with medical conditions like asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, um, sleep apnea, any kind of problems with your jaws or TMJ, um, individuals with a lot of claustrophobia or anxiety, pregnant women, certain medications like that affect your breathing patterns at night. This may not be for you. Okay. So I'm just putting that out there. Don't do it if you can't breathe through your nose at night, then don't do it. If you're sick, and you have a cold or the flu or whatever, and you're all congested and you can't breathe, then don't do it. And I'm not telling anybody that they have to do this. I'm just putting this information out there. And I just thought it would be kind of a different, fun, off topic. I mean, it's about sleep, but just a little bit different kind of topic. But anybody, like I said, that has any kind of obstructions or breathing problems or respiratory problems, or, if you're having panic attacks and, anxiety or claustrophobia, then this may not be for you. And I know, like, I'm going to tell you honestly, I thought I was crazy at the beginning. Like, I was like, mouth taping, what are you talking about? Like, I can't imagine. Um, but I've tried it, and now I'm a convert. I'm a believer. And I'm going to tell you my own opinion about it, or what it's done for me. I am going to talk to you a little bit about some of what research does say about mouth taping, and actually there are some benefits to it. And so what it is, let me just show you too before I even start. Now, I have no affiliation with this company. I would love for them to sponsor me. I have just been using their mouth tape. Now, listen, you do not have to go and buy this. You do not. You could, and I've seen people do this, you could just get some masking tape and put a little square even over your mouth, and tape your mouth, or put a whole thing of it. You don't have to go out and buy these. Back 3 years ago when I started, even trying this, I had been listening to podcasts, watching YouTube channels, and people were talking about it a little, more and more. And someone was talking about these. I just decided, they had a sample pack at that time. I decided to order them and try them. And I didn't think about ever using masking tape or just using my own tape to try it. But there are people that are doing that. Now, I don't know how that works because I haven't used it. I don't know how it sticks, if it stays on your mouth. I just know that these, and again, I'll hold up here, these are Simply Breathe. And then they come in sheets like this, and you just peel it off. And you'll probably see in my thumbnail that I have this on. And it's got a sticky side to it, and you just put it over your mouth at night. Yeah, it's not sexy. It really isn't. So if you have a spouse or a partner or whatever, like, yeah, it's definitely not sexy. You might want to wait until, whatever you're going to do, um, and then put it on before you go to sleep. But and it sounds really weird. And so you're like, Heather, why in the heck would I put on mouth tape? Well, let me just tell you some of the benefits of mouth taping. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you what it's done for me. And I've just jotted notes down. So if I'm looking down, because I can't remember everything, but it promotes nasal breathing. This is the big one. Okay. And this is what it did for me. Let me tell you even why I started it. Let me back up. I started doing it because I found out that I was waking up, first of all, with an extremely dry mouth and sometimes like sore throat feeling. I was like, whoa, what is going on? And I found out I was sleeping with my mouth open. Now I have, and this is a whole nother podcast on sleep positions, but I've been really working and training myself to sleep on my back all night, which is really hard for me. I don't know. Are any of you on that? Who's a side sleeper? Who's a back sleeper? Who's a stomach sleeper? If you're a stomach sleeper, leave a comment below, because we got to talk about that. But I'll talk about that in another podcast about sleep positions. But I've been training myself to sleep on my back all night for a number of reasons. Again, that I'll go into a podcast, but super helpful, especially for the ladies that are getting older. You'll want to watch that podcast about sleep positions. But I've been working on training myself that way. But I found out when I'm sleeping on my back, my mouth, and I don't know, like, it's funny. I've heard people say that they can keep their mouth closed all night. But for me, as soon as I laid my head back on my pillow, like, my mouth just automatically opens. Is anybody else like that? Or is it just me? Because other people are like, no, I keep my mouth closed all night. But I'm like, my mouth automatically was opening. And I would start off with it closed, but then as soon as I'd fall asleep, it would open. And I don't think I snore, but I was definitely breathing heavily. Um, and I was waking up, like I said, just with this dry mouth and sore throat. And I was also waking up, and I can say this now because since mouth taping for 3 years, I see the difference. But I was waking up all the time like anxious. I would wake up in the morning and just be like anxious and like right off the bat. And it was like, man, I just slept 8 hours, but why am I so anxious first off the bat? Maybe my heart would be racing. And so the more that I looked into it and researched it, a lot of it, and it goes back to breathing, guys. And I want to do a whole nother podcast about breathing and probably will, especially with the certification that I'm doing, because it's a lot about the way we breathe, the breathing, but the way we breathe. And like things that I've learned, even that here's just something that when your mouth is closed, where does your tongue go when your mouth is closed and you're inhaling? So just think about that a minute. Stop and breathe, inhaling through your nose, mouth closed. Where is your tongue position? Like mine was just hanging there in my mouth. Your tongue position actually should be at the roof of your mouth. Like it should be completely at the roof of your mouth and your tip of your tongue on the back of your teeth. Mine wasn't doing that. So I know it all sounds kind of crazy, but it all makes a difference in the way you breathe and then how you regulate your nervous system. When we breathe in through our nose, it helps to send us into the parasympathetic nervous system. And I know I've talked about this in previous podcasts, but there's this sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. I'm sure you guys have probably heard this because it's talked a lot about in like the health and fitness and nutrition world. But when we breathe in through our nose, it sends us into that parasympathetic nervous system. Breathing in and out, especially if you can, but in through the nose, it helps us to relax more. Rest and digest is that parasympathetic nervous system. When we exhale, it also can do that. But when we breathe through our mouth, that sends us more into the sympathetic nervous system or that fight or flight. It's interesting because we're really only supposed to breathe through our mouth when we eat and when we talk. Does anybody else find this? I've really, and maybe it's because I'm so tuned into things now and I've been tuning into things, but when I talk a lot, like after this podcast, I will feel like I can't explain it, like kind of exhausted, but also like ramped up, like amped up. I get that way too sometimes. Like if I've had a long day of talking to clients, one, I'm thinking, you have to think a lot because everybody's different. And you're trying to figure out what's going on with them and so many questions, and there's always so much going on in my head. And then I'm talking, we're talking a lot. And, I'm trying to listen as well, but there is a lot of, talking involved when you're talking to people all day and you're working with them. And I find at the end of the day, it's this weird, like I'm exhausted because I'm drained, I think, from thinking so much, but also like amped up and almost anxious more because I'm just like, I can come home and I'll be like, and then this happened, and da, 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 and you're just, how that is. I mean, like my kids are that way when they come home from school. Like, I think, just all the excitement, it's just like they're da, 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 da. And, and that's a lot because if we're breathing through our mouth a lot, that sends us into that sympathetic or fight or flight. So something that I've really been working on is one, the mouth taping, because I noticed I was mouth breathing at night. And definitely I've noticed a difference since wearing the tape over my mouth because it forces me to breathe through my nose. And what's crazy is I fall asleep better. It instantly helps me to relax. It's so crazy. And if you struggle and you're like, oh, that would feel really weird and claustrophobic. I mean, like what I've done before is like I've left one end of the mouth tape like up for a while. When I first started, I just would put it on a little ways and just, I mean, nothing's going to happen. If you can breathe through your nose, clearly, I mean, nothing's going to happen. But, some people do get kind of freaked out about it. So, and at the beginning, I did too. And so I would leave just half of the mouth tape open. And I slowly went to, having it full on. And I just, like I said, noticed that when I started just breathing through my nose, I was so much more relaxed instantly in bed. It just instantly calmed me down. And I was waking up just like it was literally, again, a game changer for me. I felt so much calmer when I wake up now. I feel just more well rested. I don't feel like the brain fog happening. I can think clearly. Um, and I just this overall feeling more calm. And then, not to mention, my mouth isn't dry anymore. I'm not having sore throats, anything like that. I really think that and this is totally out there and I'm just speculating, but I think it's helped me to just be healthier overall. Um, I totally believe that. What's interesting now is I've even followed people that will wear these even during like exercise. Because how many times when you're exercising, this is something I've been really working on now too, especially if you're doing any kind of cardio and you're breathing through your mouth and stuff, and how that again is actually putting you more into that, fight or flight. And so I haven't played around with wearing them during exercise, but I do follow someone that does wear them during exercise and was saying how it's really slowed them down in their exercise, but it's in the long term, it's helped them though, again, and it's made their respiratory system so much stronger. And I can see that, and something that I want to try because I've just been right now being just aware of like when my mouth is open when I'm exercising and trying to keep it closed then and just fully breathe in and exhale, inhaling and exhaling through my nose. And it's definitely harder. It's definitely makes it harder, makes it more challenging. But I think the more that I do that, and again, from what I've been watching from this person that's doing it, that it's actually strengthening their heart and strengthening their respiratory system and the cardiovascular system. And so I think that it's going to be my next step. But if you're someone that is struggling with sleeping, this may be something that you could try. I mean, again, you could use your own tape and it's free, but it does encourage breathing through the nose. No, nasal breathing, and why it's so important too, is it filters we have these little hairs in our nose, and that's what filters out toxins, and it helps actually humidify. It's like it acts as a humidifier in there and humidifies the air, potentially then leading to better oxygen exchange. Okay. It reduces the dry mouth. So if you're someone that's got dry mouth and you're waking up, with your like, like I need to go to the water right away, then again, this could be something that's helpful for you. It can potentially reduce snoring for people. It can really help actually with snoring, because a lot of times people that snore will also have their mouth open and be breathing through their mouth. And so that can possibly help. It improves, like I said before, oxygenation. So nasal breathing allows for better oxygen absorption in the lungs compared to mouth breathing. And what's really interesting, and I actually heard a dentist talking about this, is that it supports oral health. So continuous mouth breathing can contribute to dental issues, including dry mouth, as we said, but bad breath and gum disease. So by encouraging nasal breathing, mouth taping may maintain better oral health. I actually heard a woman that I was listening to her whole podcast about mouth taping, and she said, now again, I'm just going by what she said, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen for you, but she said that since she's been mouth taping, like her dentist has even said that her oral health, like she's had less cavities, she's had less problems, like she was struggling with a lot of cavities, and she said she's not had any cavities since doing that. And just her dentist was even impressed with her oral health. It's going to improve your sleep quality. Okay. Um, it leads to, when you're breathing through your nose again and you get into that parasympathetic nervous system, it leads to deeper, more restful sleep. Now, they say that it can even benefit sleep apnea. It's not a primary treatment for sleep apnea, but it may be used in conjunction with other therapies. So, for individuals with mild obstructive sleep apnea, it might help promote better airflow. But again, you want to check with your doctor on that. If you're struggling, and I'm saying this again, if you're struggling at all through breathing your nose, then this is not going to be for you because obviously you have to be able to breathe through your nose. It can enhance athletic performance. Nasal breathing is associated, again, with better oxygenation and improved CO2 carbon dioxide exchange, which could be advantageous for athletes during training and competition. It encourages diaphragmatic breathing, our diaphragm. That is super big and a huge thing of this too. And what I, again, in this training that I'm doing, really working on, breathing, obviously diaphragmatic breathing, but, and like I said, I'll go more into that. But when nasal breathing engages the diaphragm muscle more effective than chest breathing. So that's a whole nother topic, but just thinking about it, are you breathing more into your chest or more into your belly? And mouth taping, it's a non-invasive, cost-effective approach that doesn't require special equipment or devices. Again, you can use your own tape and it's free. So it might be something, like I said, that you just want to try. This woman that I follow that was just had a podcast about it too, that she's been doing it now just for 3 months, and she kind of wanted to talk about the benefits she's seen in it. But she was saying that there's actually, I guess there's a book by, oh, I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Nestor. It's called Breathe. Now I have not read it yet, but she was just mentioning this book all about breathing and nasal breathing, but they actually had pictures in the book, and she showed the pictures on our podcast. But she was showing um, people that were twins, and one was a nasal breather and one was a mouth breather, and the difference in their shape of their face, and how people too, they had pictures of people that were mouth breathers and then did mouth taping and went to nasal breathing, how over time their face structure actually even changed. Their jaw, the big one was their jaw got more defined. And it was quite remarkable, the pictures. But again, I'm just saying this from things that I've seen and heard, and and just talking about my own experience with it. Um, Let me just make sure. So it forced me, like I said, it forced me to slow down, de-stress, dry mouth. I covered all that. Felt better, clear thinking, more energy. That was also another thing, is that I was getting more quality sleep, and so obviously I was feeling better during the day and had more energy. Now I'm gonna say, just on a side note, most of the time I have no problems, with the mouth tape and keep it on all night. But I have had times when I must have been in a dream, or like, running from something or doing something, where I would wake up and I'd find my mouth tape. It's quite funny. In different places in my body, like my arm or my forehead. So I must have taken it off and put it somewhere else and stuff in my sleep. So um, that can happen, and that kind of then disrupts my sleep, and maybe I wake up not feeling as good. And I will say, on the times that I've missed, like if I ran out of mouth tape or something, which again I can use tape, but if I ran out of these, um, I would, not use it. And there's times I have missed, and I definitely noticed a difference. And again, this is me, this is my opinion on it, but I've definitely noticed a difference. I do want to say too, on these are very comfortable. Like they're not going to, like, you can't move your mouth, or you can't, you couldn't breathe at all. Like they're very, very comfortable. I think they even make ones now, I've heard, where it's mouth tape and then there's like a hole in the middle for people that really feel like, I don't want something completely over my mouth. Um, it does look quite funny. Like I said, again, it's not sexy, but it is like a little hack to help you with sleep. And again, it's easy. It could be free. Like I said, I do buy these. They're not that expensive. They last. They come in a let's see, 30 in a packet, so a month. I'm on a subscription now. I just get them every month. Is it something that I need? No, but it's something that helps me to sleep better and then feel better. And for me, I'm very much on a budget. I watch my money. I don't spend my money frivolously, but I do spend my money, what money I have, I spend it on things that I know are going to help me and to feel better. That's the main thing. And that's just where everybody can spend their money where they want, but um, this is something for me that, there may be a time when I just go to regular tape. And I do know of people that started off mouth taping, and they did it for a long time and they trained themselves then to be able to just sleep with their mouth closed and they didn't need the tape anymore. I'm still not there. Even after 3 years, it's like when I go without it, tend to like open my mouth again. I don't know. It's just like a reflex for me. So it's something that I'm working on. And like I said, it's definitely been beneficial to help me sleep better, get quality sleep, waking up feeling refreshed and a lot less anxious for the day. Um, and it's just also made me really think about how um, I breathe throughout the day then. And only, opening my mouth when I'm talking or when I'm eating and trying to the rest of the time, keep my mouth closed and breathe through my nose. Again, when we breathe through the nose, it gets into that parasympathetic nervous system. It helps regulate our breath weight, right? Regulate our breath rate. It helps slow us down, make us feel more calm, calms you down. And then in turn, all of that helps strengthen your immune system. So it's pretty cool. I think just a little fun thing that kind of I just wanted to bring to you, just something different. And I hope that you enjoy it. If you give it a try, or if you mouth tape already and you're like, hey, Heather, I'm already doing that, let me know in the comments down below. I would super appreciate it. And again, guys, I am just thankful for you guys, even any and all that listen or watch on the YouTube channel. I would love if you would subscribe to the podcast and to the YouTube channel, that you would, hit that notifications bell that always lets you know when a new channel or when a new video, excuse me, comes up or podcast. And just, I would love so much if you would share with someone that you think could benefit from it. Share on your social media. I would love to build the community and get out good sound information on all things health, really. I'm going to be bringing a lot more to you. Um, and, hopefully, God willing, nothing more happens, and that my mom, can really heal and do better. And I've just been praying about that. And guys, again, I appreciate you even being here today and listening or watching. So thank you guys so much. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.